So today we're going to walk through and take a look at some of the many ways we can use tools in ArcGIS to help integrate with existing data, analyze and process that data, and then ultimately provide it back out. So the workflow we're going to take a look at is going to help me better understand all of the different activities going on near my wells. And as you'll see throughout this story, the data is not going to come from one source, but instead many sources and many formats. And we'll see how we can process all of these different types of information to create a useful end product for our users. To start off, the first thing I'm going to do is pull in existing well information. This is actually going to come from an existing vendor or data provider that provides us with live services to our information. So here we can see some of our core asset layers like our operating areas, leases, and field offices. I can go ahead and get started with adding a new layer directly within my map viewer using the Add Layer from URL option. From here, it's going to ask me for a URL to an existing service. And in this case, we're actually going to link out to an Enverus feature server service coming from their data provider. So we'll go ahead and copy this URL. And then from there, we can simply paste it into our field well. You can see it's automatically picked up the type of service this is. If I expand this, you can see all of the different options that I can actually directly link to in the drop-down. From there, we'll go ahead and click Next, and it's going to automatically add that layer to my map. Let's go ahead and zoom into an area. Whenever we start working with massive amounts of data, we want to make sure we're filtering it out to only find information that's useful to us. So you can see all the different wells that we've brought in. And to do this, I can leverage the filtering capability directly within my map viewer. So from here, I can add specific queries. So for example, maybe I only want to see the wells that are within a certain geologic province, in this case, the Permian Basin. I can also build out new queries within the same filter. So for example, maybe I want to find all of the wells that are specific to my operator alias and contain the text. In this case, let's just say Exxon. So once I go ahead and fill out the parameters that I'm interested in, let's go ahead and take a look at an existing one that I have built out. Here we can see there's that same well service. We can take a look at the underlying filters. Again, we're using only the wells in the Permian Basin, and I'm only looking for the wells that contain the text Exxon. So if we go ahead and turn that on, now we can see we've taken all of those wells and really defined only specific ones that we're interested in. So if we go ahead and take a look at that, now I'll have to find only specific wells that abide by those queries that we entered in earlier. So just another way that you can use out-of-the-box tools to help bring in the information, for example, like wells, and then filter them out based on your business requirements. All right, so we've gone ahead and added in one piece of information representing well locations. Now, another thing I might be interested in is nearby permitting information. And in this case, this is going to come from a different source because these are actually stored in a Snowflake data warehouse. For this, we can leverage ArcGIS data pipelines. Data pipelines is our new native data integration capability of ArcGIS Online that makes it faster and easier to access, prepare, and integrate with data. Now, in this case, since this is stored in a Snowflake data warehouse, one of the things we'll want to do is configure a connection to that specific data store. So this is an example of an item in ArcGIS Online representing that count. And then from here, we can leverage ArcGIS data pipelines. You can access this through the app gallery and selecting data pipelines. I've gone ahead and created a data pipeline. So this is just another item within my organization that I can go back into, I can share with others, etc. So let's go ahead and open this up. Now, in the middle, we can see our editing canvas where we can start building out our data pipeline workflow. And how these work is first by defining a specific input. You can see all of the supported inputs here on the left, like cloud storage, for example, like an Amazon S3 bucket I can connect to as an input, or even databases, for example, Google BigQuery, or even Snowflake. I can even use existing feature layers as inputs, right? And I have one input in my workflow right now. I can have one or many different types. All right, so we've gone ahead and defined our input as a Snowflake connection. The next thing that we'll want to do is go ahead and take advantage of some of the engineering tools within data pipelines. You can use these tools to help clean your data, construct new information, use it for formatting purposes, or even to help integrate. So these are all of the out-of-the-box tools available today. The first tool we're going to use is filter by attribute. And in this case, since we're working with big data, I want to go ahead and process it down to only find, in this case, permits that are in the year of 2024. So that's my first filter by attribute. Now I can go ahead and start stringing together different operations and maybe use another filter, for example, to define more specific permits. For example, maybe I only want permits that are in the Permian Basin and are within a certain activity group, for example. So I've gone ahead and stringed together two separate operations here, filtering my permits down to find only specific ones. Now, since this is a big data set, the next tool I'm going to use in my workflow here is select fields. And in this case, I'm only going to pull 5 different fields coming from my initial table. The county, the operator, the class or the type, the lease, and also the WKT. Now, one thing to note is this WKT field is going to contain geographic information. And this is going to allow me to use my next tool, Create Geometry. So this tool is going to go ahead and take a look at all of the output records from my previous workflow and look at that WKT field. And just to get an idea of some of the supported geometry formats, I can use XYZ, WKT, WKB, GeoJSON, and Esri-JSON. So those are some of the supported geometries I can read in today. And so this tool is going to go ahead and construct a point so that we can ultimately output and create a new feature layer in my organization. So with our outputs, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Under our output methods, we can see the variety of different ways we can create new features. I can choose to create a whole new feature layer from this specific data pipeline. I can replace an existing feature layer, or I can add an update to an existing feature layer and only record some of those changes. So a couple of different ways that we can output features. Now, once I'm happy with the way my data pipeline looks, I can go ahead and run it. I've gone ahead and run my data pipeline, but let's just say this is a process that I need to do over and over. One of the features within data pipelines is the ability to schedule tasks. And this is going to help automate these different processes so that I can run them hourly, or if I wanted to do it daily, maybe there's a certain day of the week I want my data pipeline to run, or even monthly, right? So this is, again, going to help automate this process so that I don't need to come in and check each time my data pipeline is run. So now I've gone ahead and run my data pipeline, and if we go back to our web map, we can see on the map we have our wells, and if I turn on my permits, we have now brought in a new source of information representing permit locations coming from our Snowflake data warehouse. Now, another source of crucial information I'm interested in is land or leasehold information. And in this case, I know that the Texas General Land Office provides a pretty great data set representing certain oil and gas lease information. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can use ArcGIS Data Interoperability, a desktop ETL solution, to help automate the import and upload of these specific leases. You can access data interoperability within ArcGIS Pro through the Analysis tab under Data Interop. Here's an example of what a data interoperability workflow looks like. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and automate the update and addition of new features coming from that Texas General Land Office website. So at the top, we have an existing feature service in our ArcGIS Online representing leases. Another input into our overall workflow is going to be this data set with new updates. And if we go ahead and take a look at this, I'm going to expand it and take a look at the parameters, you'll see that I'm actually just linking out to the live web service as a file geodatabase coming from the General Land Office. So that's my second input down here at the bottom. From there, we're going to use a variety of different tools or transformers to make sure first the attribute manager is going to update the schema to match my existing feature service. Those outputs are now going to be put into our change detector transformer to find everything that has changed between the two data sets. Any changes that we're interested in, we can go ahead and output and write our updates out to our ArcGIS Online feature service. So once we're happy with the way this workflow looks, we can go ahead and run it, and now we've output a new source of information to our overall web map. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Here, if I go ahead and turn them on, we have our wells, we have our permits, and now we have existing lease information that we can now start comparing with our overall data. So we've gone ahead and taken a look at 3 different sources of information so far, and for the most part, these have all been spatial in format. But how can we start pulling in information that may be unstructured? For example, the Texas Railroad Commission has a variety of different data sources, and I might be interested in drilling permit information. You can see here that the format is not necessarily one that I'm familiar with dealing with, right? And in this case, I've gone ahead and downloaded the daily file representing drilling permits and also the monthly file in ASCII formats. And this is what those files look like. You can see there's a lot of really great information in here, and there are coordinates. So how can I use tools in ArcGIS Pro to help get these onto my map? So let's go ahead and take a look at a geoprocessing tool called Extract Locations from Document. What this tool is going to allow me to do is input a variety of different types of documents. So for example, a Word document, a PowerPoint, Excel file, XML or HTML documents, or even just plain text files. And it's going to go through and read that information to help find different coordinate information. There's some tools or parameters that I'll need to fill out in here to help make sure that it's formatted correctly. But once I'm happy with the way that my parameters are filled out, we can go ahead and run this tool. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to analyze that ASCII document coming from the Railroad Commission and plot those points onto the map. There we have our new daily permits from June 10th. I've gone ahead and run this on our daily file. So for example, here's all those daily drilling permits. I've also gone ahead and run it on our monthly permits, so that from here I can compare and contrast and see the differences between my 2 permitting files. I've also gone ahead and run this on another file representing inspection locations. So if I go ahead and turn those on, we can see these represent inspections coming from the Texas Railroad Commission. When this tool analyzes specific sources or documents, it's going to pull in information like pretext representing, certain hyperlinks that are associated with this. I can use Arcade to extract text coming from certain fields, for example, like the facility type. So I've added a new field called type reclamation plant, right? And if I change and select different features, it's going to update all of those different attributes. So that from here, I can do some pretty cool things with it. So for example, if I wanted to symbolize these now based on type of facility, I can get a better idea of inspections around the state of Texas. So this is leveraging, again, that extract locations from document geoprocessing tool using the Locate XT. So as we've built out all of these different data layers and added them into our map, one of the best ways that we can help pull all of these moving parts together is through an ArcGIS dashboard. So those different processes that we just walked through, adding a layer by URL, leveraging ArcGIS data pipelines, leveraging the ArcGIS data interoperability extension, and also the geoprocessing tools are all running in the background, and the outputs are going to help drive these dashboards and indicators that you can see here on the screen, so that this data is live, up to date, and authoritative. As you start building out all of the different web applications and maps, it's important to make sure that you're organizing the content so your users can access it quickly and with purpose. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a couple of different ways that you can use some of the tools in ArcGIS to help organize all of this content. So your users are used to coming into your ArcGIS portal homepage, where you can have a gallery containing all of the top used maps and applications. One of the examples that we can leverage to help organize this content is ArcGIS Hub. ArcGIS Hub allows us to have an easy interface for your users to come in and quickly start searching for content. So this is our data atlas that we've leveraged to help organize this, right? And I can search for information in a couple of different ways. So for example, if I wanted to type in and search for different lease information, I can use that. And Hub on the back end is going to look for all of the different content that is tagged with lease on it. I can sort these by different data sets or different layers, depending on the type of information I'm looking for. Or if I'm looking for already built out apps or maps, I can also choose to search for that content this way as well. So just a really great way to help organize these different outputs and information products that your users need to access on a day-to-day basis. That's one example. Another example that you can leverage is the ArcGIS Experience Builder web application. Now, this is an example that we've built out to help organize all of the different demo maps and apps that we leverage on a day-to-day basis. And you can break these out into different subsectors. So for example, if I'm in upstream, I can select on that and we're brought to a new page, where I can access content around exploration, maybe land management, or if I'm in operations, I'm going to go ahead and select that. From here, you can see a curated list of demo map and applications with links out to existing videos. So for example, I can view a video of someone walking through this specific application, or I can also include a link out to the live app, right? So users can come in and start exploring this as they see fit. So this is a really great way to help organize different types of content, again, based on the different category or types of information that your users can look for in a really easy way to explore and look at.